morning, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of the EUC Forum. I need to stop pacing because the microphone's here. It's really great to see so many people here and a great location as well. It's currently November 2025, in case you needed a reminder. We have people from not just the UK, but across the world, either attending or presenting today. So I'm just going to put this on, just in case there's anyone in the audience who is going to wonder why the hell everyone stopped talking at 11 o'clock. But we planned the break in order for those of you that want to reserve a couple of minutes silence at 11 o'clock to do so. For those of you unaware, that's why things are going to go silent then. The first thing we want to do is say thanks to our sponsors. This event would not exist and has not and won't exist if the sponsors don't get your names on their little QR codes and create leads and all that kind of great stuff that sponsors need. So please go and speak to them. Please go and see what those guys have to say because it is really important and we really value their sponsorship ongoing. And I'll show you how to do that in the Canopy app a little bit later. If you haven't already downloaded it onto your phone, please do so because the agenda's on there. You can leave feedback questions on there. You can create questions for the roundtable that's going to be at the end of the day on there. That's all great. Plus, you can interact with those sponsors to find out a little bit more about what they do. But please go upstairs and visit them face to face. This is your opportunity to find out what they do if you haven't come across them before. From a steering group point of view, I don't know why I'm the only one in black and white. I'm really not sure about that. From a steering group point of view, we've got Jim, myself, Lee, Nigel. James should be here somewhere. Maybe not quite yet. He is presenting today. But some of the others are in all sorts of dark and distant places like Dubai. Neil and Neil are both in Dubai. Not because it's a Neil. Oh, it could be a Neil conference. Yeah, Shabazz. Yeah, they're both in Dubai and Shabazz is in Australia. But it takes quite a lot of effort to organise this stuff. I know it looks very amateurish to you guys. But actually, it's quite a lot of effort to organise this kind of stuff. And it does take a village, as well as our great events team who you have already met. You can interact with us in lots of different ways. Does anyone actually use Blue Sky? I asked Jim this question earlier on, because there was a massive hoo-ha about everyone's leaving Twitter and going to Blue Sky. And I do have a Blue Sky account, but show of hands, there were a couple of people who are actively using it. Right, okay, cool. It's more popular than I imagined. But you can interact with us in lots of those different ways. For those of you who feel like you really want to get something off your chest, please do so. Please submit a session. If you go to our website, eucforum.tech, there is a submit your session link. We would love to, not you, Sean, we would love to hear from you. The community, so we have a feedback survey. Every single time, the community-focused presentations, the presentations from a normal person doing a normal project always rate the highest because people want to know what you're doing. You might think your stuff you're doing is kind of nobody wants to hear about, but you're normally surprised when you get such great feedback. So I really encourage anyone to do it. The sessions are going to be recorded. You can go to our YouTube channel, which is on there, and you can see all the recordings of the past meetings as well as the current meetings. We've been a bit lazy about 2026. We haven't got any dates sorted out yet, so Nigel's thrown that on. Spring is going to be London, May somewhere in the cold, dark north. That's normally how we play it. And then we're going to have a summer meeting's going to be in the cold, dark Midlands. Somewhere around there. Your neck of the woods, Neil, isn't it, Birmingham? So we'll be asking you for venue options there. Neil's taken us all out for beers in Birmingham. And then we're going to another social in London, obviously back here in the winter. Once we get the dates sorted out, they'll obviously be on our website. And they are subject to change, those locations as well. They are subject to change, so if you don't make it to Birmingham, then don't hold it against me. We'll come up with ideas now, Neil, and then we'll get them booked in, and then you're in. Right, so this is a very busy slide. I'm not going to go through it. What I would suggest is I'm about to give you a QR code for the Canopy app. The full agenda is on there, okay? We're going to hear from a bunch of vendors at the top of the shop, Microsoft, AWS, Citrix, Omnissa, who I'm sure you're all aware of. We're then going to hear from our two platinum sponsors, iGel and Google. And then we're going to break into 2 rooms. So this is the first room. The second room is what's called Hazlitt, which is opposite this room. So if you look as if you're going to go out the front door, it's on your right-hand side. So that's where the breakout room is going to be. So that's where this room on the right-hand column is going to be placed. Then we carry on to the afternoon. We then kind of come back after the afternoon coffee. We're going to have a great session from Anita Squire. She did a session up in Edinburgh, and backed by popular demand. Anita's going to do hopefully a just as good a job down here. Then we're going to have a little round table, which you are perfectly welcome to pose some questions in, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And then we're going to go get some free beer because the sponsors have given us enough money for beers. So that's all great. So I keep talking about Canopy. Please download this. There are prizes. You can score points for interacting in particular ways. Canopy is obviously spelled Canapii if you're manually searching for it on an app store of choice. When you get it, it'll look like this. So you navigate it in this kind of way. You can see it says EUC Forum Winter Meeting. You can scan each other's badges. Sponsors can scan your QR code in this fashion. You can look at all the speakers who are presenting. You can click on their names. Yeah, if you're particularly interested in Lee, he's got some stuff there. Here you can also fill in the survey. So if you thought it was great, if you thought it was rubbish, all this kind of stuff, it's super important to us because it helps guide us in the future. You can click on the sponsors, you can book meetings with the sponsors, you can find out more, look at the wider team. This happens to be iGel, what I'm looking at here. Here's where you can play to win. So all these interactions you do with the app, the sponsors you see, the conversations you have, it all scores you points. Nigel and I are currently top. Unfortunately, we can't win. So this is just us testing it out. But importantly, you can also see a live agenda here. The little plus sign on the right, you can add the session to your agenda if you wish. And you can interact with people. I've just clicked on the Anita session there and booked it into my agenda, just so you can see how it works. The really important thing is on the roundtable session, there's an Interact Now button, and you can ask questions, okay? You can ask topical, pertinent, Silverlight-related questions, like I've just asked here to test it out. But what we'll do is we'll monitor these questions, so when we come to the round table, we're not struggling for topics and making stuff up, like, what did you most enjoy? Or what do you think the EUC industry is going in the next 5 years? Which is what everyone gets asked all of the time. Here, if you want to know about Java, then happy days, post a question about that. The future of Silverlight and Java. Now, we're going to have some post-event networking drinks. We will reveal the location in like a magical way nearer the end of the day. So we will be doing that. Without further ado, we're now going to hear from the first of our 4 names on that list. So we're going to hear from Jim from Microsoft to take us through the Microsoft updates.
I know I've got the EUC Forum shirt on, but I actually work for Microsoft as well. just telling people my job, Chris. Can we get 10 minutes? To 10 minutes, thank you very much. Hello, my name's Jim Moyle. I work for the Windows Cloud team as a Principal Product Manager. And I'm here to tell you all the exciting news around Azure Virtual Desktop and Windows 365. I have a small problem with telling you the news. And that problem is called Microsoft Ignite. So, as you can see, Microsoft Ignite is next week. And a lot of announcements around brand new features and exciting new stuff are being held to be announced at Ignite. So, if you're saying, Jim, all this stuff's coming out next week, I heard about it at night, I'm not allowed to tell you today. However, I will tell you what I can. Split it into different topics, so security, Enhanced security defaults, so now clipboard USB redirection is disabled by default. You obviously can enable it on different environments, so this is Windows 365 and AVD. Windows 10 ESU. So if you still need Windows 10, but you don't want to pay for ESU, run it in Windows Cloud and you won't have to. Token protection for Windows app. So again, this applies to AVD and Windows 365. So we've got advanced token protection, which means that the token is only valid on the device that it's generated on. So it's much more difficult to steal somebody's token. Also announced B2B external identity support, so you can now connect with a external tenant into AVD resources. Currently, FSLogix isn't supported as part of that, but it will be coming along. Connectivity, RDP multipath. So if you're not aware, RDP multipath is exactly what it says. We're connecting to your session through multiple network pathways, and if one of them fails, then another one takes over seamlessly. I've seen the data around the improvements in connection strength and preventing disconnects, and it's amazing the difference that multipath has made. So that will happen for everybody across the board for both Windows 365 and AVD. Windows 365 Reserve. So officially, this is sort of disaster recovery play. So you can pay a small subscription, and you get 10 days of usage for each user per year. So if they've lost their laptops, if you have anything else where they're having trouble connecting, then you can use 10 days of a Windows 365 Cloud PC, and you can carry on working, and your users can carry on working. Those 10 days don't have to be consecutive. You can split them up into multiple days. So that's nice to have. Turn relay expansion, essentially better RDP short path, again, better connectivity, faster connectivity. And that is across almost all of the Azure regions now. And cross-region disaster recovery has always, not always, but has been there for Windows 365 Enterprise, is now available for Windows 365 Frontline in dedicated mode, not shared mode. Ephemeral OS disk support. People have been asking for this for a long time. So now we've got ephemeral OS disk support in Azure Virtual Desktop. Ephemeral OS disks is, instead of storing your OS disk on shared storage, it's actually on local storage on the hypervisor. So only certain SKUs support this. But it's faster, and disk storage is free for ephemeral OS disks. Windows 365 boot updates. So if you're doing boot to cloud, so either on a Windows device or one of the new Link devices, we've got improved boot time, improved startup time, and improved connection times. We're seeing some connection times below 7 seconds now, and we've got ambitions to improve that even more. Previously, boot to cloud only supported one cloud PC, so you needed to only have one, and you go straight in. Now, if you have 2 or 3, we'll bring up a menu, and you can choose. You can also set a default if you like as well. Windows 365 Cloud App. So now, if you want to do remote app, so you don't want to give people a full desktop, just an application, you can now use Windows 365. It's frontline shared underneath the hood. But if you want consistent pricing, predictable pricing for an application-only delivery mechanism, then Windows 365 Cloud Apps is there for you now. It's integrated with Intune, and we've really improved stuff like start menu discovery and all kinds of stuff like that. So have a go with Windows 365 Cloud Apps if you didn't know it was there. For AVD, we've now got managed identity support for host pools. So instead of using the service principal, you can actually use a managed identity for each host pool. Much more secure. That identity is now 100% within your tenant and lives and dies with the resource that it's attached to. So extra security and management for host pools. I haven't said Copilot yet, so I better say it. So now we have Copilot and Intune support for Windows 365. So inside Intune, you can now say, show me all my cloud PCs in the UK, or show me all cloud PCs which are disconnected. And you can perform a lot of admin interrogation and monitoring just through natural language right in Intune, and it will bring you the results without you having to go and find everything. Now, trying to keep us on time, that's just about my 10 minutes for the Microsoft news. So thank you very much. And go watch all this content at Ignite for Windows 365 and AVD as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. And without further ado, we've now got Peter David from AWS.
Perfect. Lovely to see so many of you here this morning and battling through all the train problems. I'm Peter David. I'm a specialist solutions architect with AWS. Been with AWS for about 4 years. Prior to AWS, I was at Citrix for 15 or 16 years and VMware for a couple of years. So pretty much the last quarter of a century I spent with EUC. And I think that's my 10 minutes, so thank you very much. So yeah, quick few updates on what we're doing at AWS in our end user services. First of all, in our Workspaces Personal service, Workspaces Personal is our one-to-one desktop, named user, great for developer use cases. What have we been doing in that space? So anybody who's played with our bring your own license process, getting a Windows 11 image into our Workspaces services, probably grimacing right now. But we've made a lot of effort to improve and streamline that process. So now bringing in a new ISO or a VHDX or a VMDK or an OVF file into the service and getting yourselves up and running with Windows 11 is much, much more straightforward and much less painful. Did I hear a giggle there somewhere? Windows 11 24H2 support came along this quarter, and we now have native USB support inside of the service. Private link for streaming traffic means we can now stream our protocol Amazon DCV across your direct connect connection to the AWS cloud or through a VPN link instead of via the public internet. Teams optimization is something a lot of our customers have been looking for. Obviously, folks like Citrix and VMware and Microsoft obviously have that and have had it for a number of years, but we have that now inside of the Workspaces Personal service. Larger bundle support. So one of the things I'm going to talk about a little bit later on is something called Workspaces Core. In order to really maximize the use of Workspaces Core, we need to be able to run a multi-session service. So we've increased the size of some of our bundles to make multi-session a little bit more flexible going forwards. Some region expansion to Paris, and some sharing of other services, which actually makes it much more straightforward to get Workspaces up and running. So with Citrix Federated Authentication Service, VMware, I think they call it True SSO, and Microsoft have their own certificate-based authentication service. If you're front-ending your desktops with a SAML deployment, you need something to be able to log on seamlessly to your Windows client or server desktop. We use something called a private CA to enable that with certificate-based authentication, and you can now share those components across from a single shared services account to multiple Workspaces deployments instead of having a one-to-one relationship between those components. Web access improvements for our web client, so it's much more easy to access our Workspaces Personal and our pooled environments using iOS or Android operating systems. So on to our next service. Pooled non-persistent is our non-persistent desktop service. Very few changes this half with pooled. We've made some changes to client session management so that you can manage your sessions a lot more easy from within your desktop. And we've introduced always-on support to complement our on-demand capabilities. So on-demand brings a pooled workspace up to a hibernate state, and then when the user logs in, they get a fully activated desktop, so it costs you a lot less money to run that inside of our cloud. With always-on, obviously, that machine's running 24/7 if you want it to be, and obviously it tracks the associated costs. Thin client, many of you may or may not be aware that we have a thin client offering. We've done quite a lot of work on that this half, so we now have additional hub support so that you can attach multiple monitors, and gives you a lot more expansion for USB devices. FIDO2 pre-session support, so you can now use FIDO2 security keys to log into thin client. Access controls inside of the workspaces management. Control planes, so we can enable or disable the ability to connect to workspaces using thin client or other devices, and you can set workspaces up so that you can only connect to them using a thin client device if you're running an environment which demands that. I'll move on to some other things. The other things that are pretty straightforward. Here we go. Back one. Secure browser, so we have a secure browser service, which is a fully hosted browser, which enables you to kind of move away from allowing your users to infest your private network with viruses and malware. So we host that service for you, and it gives you access to a Chromium browser tab inside of your existing browser, which is hosted inside of AWS. Again, quite a bit of work on that this half. Used to be running on Amazon Linux 2, which is a deprecated version of Linux, or distribution of Linux. We now have transitioned that service to Ubuntu LTS, which gives us much faster session launches and a lot more customization inside of the actual Works secure browser itself. So you can now choose which camera out of your session you want to use, or which microphone you want to use, and manage the peripherals that are remapped into that browser session. Going to talk quite a bit about Workspaces Core today, very quickly. Workspaces Core is our API which allows our vendor partners such as Citrix, Omnissa, Leostream, Dizion, Workspot to integrate directly with our Workspaces service. We've introduced managed instance support, which is a kind of a big ticket item for us, and I'm going to talk very briefly about that in just a minute. Larger bundle support, again, for the same type of instances that we talked about earlier with Workspaces Persistent, and additional regional support. So I'll move on to the big ticket item for us this half is been to introduce a new Workspaces Core service called Core with Managed Instances. Those of you who are familiar with Workspaces will know that we kind of have a limited instance catalog that you can select from for AWS Workspaces. Workspaces Managed Instances opens up our EC2 catalog, so you've got thousands of instance types now that you can select from. Gives you a lot more selectability of storage and networking, so a lot more use cases opened up with managed instances. With managed instances, you are connecting to our Workspaces service from a vendor control plane. So on the left-hand side here, you can see the vendor control plane, which might be Citrix or Omnissa, or as I mentioned earlier, Leostream, Dizion, Workspot. Quite a lot of partners have integrated with our service. But basically, you continue to use all the wonderful features you have with that platform. But at the back end, your workloads are running inside of the Workspaces service. Hopefully, that's relatively straightforward. And the great stuff is, from a usability perspective, from a user perspective, you can continue to connect to those applications using the clients you already have installed on your endpoint devices. So Core with Managed Instances, this is just kind of a recap of the services here. So opens up our EC2 catalog, gives you a lot more choice in terms of the instance types you can use, integration with all the key vendors, and it addresses a couple of other issues. So reserved instances and savings plans are now opened up, so you can make a lot more better choices in terms of the costs of the solution. And for those of you who may run our services on EC2, Citrix or VMware services, Omnissa services on EC2, there is an issue where you can't run Microsoft 365 on EC2 at all. Managed instances gives you the ability to do that, so it opens up that additional use case to get around that M365 issue you might have with EC2. So move on quickly, because I've only got 1 minute left. Okay, very quickly. AppStream, not too many changes in AppStream this half. We've introduced Office bundles that you can leverage inside of the service. Added some great new graphics capabilities and some file redirection. But the big change this quarter is something we're calling EUC service consolidation. So service consolidation basically means that we're taking all the capabilities of AppStream which is our application publishing service. So if you're familiar with Citrix published applications, remote app from Microsoft, we have a service called AppStream. We're now integrating that service, consolidating that service into our Workspaces line of services so that we can deliver desktops, non-persistent, persistent, multi-session, and application publishing, all from within the same service line. That gives us a number of benefits going forward. Again, I can't talk about some of those things just like Jim said, because we've got a reInvent coming up, and a lot of those announcements are going to be made at reInvent. But look forward to a lot more aggregated services inside of the Workspaces line of services, and it's going to be a lot more easy and straightforward to get all of those wonderful desktop and application services from within one console. One console. Right. Big breath. Thank you very much for your time, and yeah, never been a better time to take a look at AWS and our EUC services. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Peter. Next up, we've got friend of the show, Nathaniel Davison from Citrix.
Hey all, great to be with you. Always good to come down from Cambridge for the EUC forums. Great to see the slides are there as well, thank you. So yeah, my name's Nathaniel. I'm a product manager for Citrix based in Cambridge, usually day-to-day working on some of the cloud platform services. More recently, seeing what we can do with Zen Server. But just here to give you a general view of what's new and what's next at Citrix. A few weeks ago, we released our 2507 LTSR release. I think that many of you are already starting to make use of this, and the stats I saw 2 weeks ago was that over 3,900 customers had already started making use of this. For those of you that are waiting for the first cumulative update, CU1, you'll see that before the end of this year. So it's a great time to be starting to plan your upgrades to 2507. Because bundled up in 2507 are a whole lot of features, over 300 features and enhancements to improve your deployments, your efficiency, your optimizations with your Citrix deployments. Some of the major things include that Uber Agent and Device Trust are now seamlessly integrated into the product. They're there in the installers, the same licenses, integrated into the same consoles where possible. So you can begin to make use of those sort of deep insights that the Uber Agent can provide to your performance, to your session quality, application usage. All of that is integrated. And similarly with Device Trust, start making use of that contextual access, policies based on who's logging in from where, what device, all without any sort of conflicts or compatibility issues with the integration. One of the most significant improvements, though, of the 2507 does relate to the just the core functionality, core performance of the product. I mean, we're all tech people here, so I think this is something that actually I don't need to just talk about features. We can talk about the core resource usage that we've been able to improve in this version. On LinkedIn, I saw one admin saying that before, their old VDAs were running at about 90% load consistently. After upgrading to 2507, out the box, they saw them stabilize at around 70 to 75% of CPU usage when under the same load. For them and for many other customers, this is translated to more sessions per host and reducing the sort of overall strain on their infrastructure. So yeah, so do make sure to check out that latest release and keep an eye out for the CU1 coming next before the end of the year. Moving on then to talk about licensing. I think for long before even I was involved in Citrix, managing licenses has been a necessary but often sort of painful, cumbersome part of running your Citrix environment. I think over the last 7 months, we saw over 6,000 support cases opened relating to license management. Things like just issues downloading the license file, going through the process of manual renewals, some potentially basic but quite frustrating and time-consuming problems, not seeing the right components after renewal, things like that. It's an overhead that is necessary but really gets in the way of investing in real strategic projects. And really, the old license mechanism just hasn't kept pace with modern IT processes. So this isn't just an update, it's a sort of fundamental change to how licensing works at Citrix, moving fully towards a cloud-based licensing architecture across all Citrix products. I mean, of course, this has already been the case if you've been using our cloud DAS service for many years, but bringing this to your self-hosted on-prem CVAD means that you'll need to upgrade your license servers, do a one-time registration to Citrix Cloud, and then be able to make use of your licenses automatically without having to deal with that life cycle of the license files themselves. I'm sure some of you will have questions about how we work for high security, air-gapped environments that can't be connected to cloud, and there is an offline activation process that requires an activation key from Citrix. So we can support any use case, but for the vast majority, cloud licensing we hope will bring significant value to you and your environment, so you can focus on those more important strategic improvements. This is one that I'm really excited about. I think for as long as I've been coming to EUC forums, I've been talking about this, and happy to say that we're moving quickly forward with introducing native Entra ID SSO for Citrix DAS. This has been coming for a long time as organizations have been shifting their machine identities from that traditional on-prem AD to Entra, formerly Azure AD. Because when you move your machine identities to the cloud, the expected SSO experience broke due to the technical limitations of the way that authentication flowed. And so users would have to log into their local machine and then log into the Citrix Workspace app and then log in again to that remote desktop. Not a great experience for them. Of course, we've always had FAS, Federated Authentication Service, which did bridge that gap and has been extremely valuable for many customers with those on-prem AD or hybrid AD identities. But there was no solution for that pure Entra-only SSO. So with this feature, we'll finally be able to unblock that. This has been a significant engineering collaboration between Citrix and Microsoft, and we're going to be with them at Ignite as well, so I also recommend you pay attention to Ignite next week. And Citrix will be the first sort of third-party solution to deliver a full Entra SSO capability. Again, this is for both Entra-joined and hybrid-joined session hosts, single and multi-session desktops, persistent, non-persistent, both in the browser and with the native Workspace app. One caveat for now is that it is only for Citrix DAS. Keep your eyes out in the future for CVAD. So yeah, just to re-emphasize, public preview will be available imminently. Start planning for that and really targeting to move quickly on this GA by the end of the year. So yeah, if you're interested, I encourage you to talk to your Citrix account team, participate in the public preview and keep an eye out for those technical blog posts and documentation when it finally gets released before the end of the year. But I do just want to add the caveat that FAS is not going anywhere. I mean, the reality is we know that technology moves slowly. AD, on-prem AD is not going anywhere. We still see a huge business value for FAS. So for those of you who are depending on FAS today, don't worry, it's not going anywhere. And we're still investing in improvements, tactical improvements, removing things like the GPO configuration, which often caused issues for customers, bringing parity between CVAD and DAS with the auto failback to using a password auth. And we're also excited to be working with a collaboration with AWS to integrate with the private CA. Until now, FAS has always depended on the Microsoft Enterprise CA. But for our customers using AWS Workspace's core, we've seen this value for them, and we're looking to bring that integration between FAS and the private CA to you in the first half of next year. So just a couple more points to run through here. Wanted to introduce Citrix Advisor to you. This is a powerful tool directly integrated into Citrix DAS. You can think of it as your dedicated automated consultant for your environment. It's constantly running in the background, checking on your deployment, delivering sort of actionable recommendations based on best practice, based on misconfigurations that we see in there. It automatically flags potential problems, configuration drifts, deviations from best practice, as I say. It helps you even do that final step of fine-tuning so that you can identify over-provisioned areas to save you money or help you right-size your resources there, directly helping you reduce your operational costs. This is an AI advisor, but I want to emphasize that it is really finely tuned, where we're targeting particular misconfigurations as we see them commonly reported from our support cases or from our login, from our telemetry that we see, in order to make this as valuable as possible to you. The advisor takes that guesswork out of maintaining a healthy environment. And so I do recommend you check that out in your Citrix Cloud console and find that advisor tab there. Just a few final things to wrap up. We're actively expanding our support for VMware alternatives. We know that the impact that is having on many of you. Primarily, we want to highlight Zen Server as a valid option for you. And I've got another slide briefly to talk about Zen Server. But we understand our customers are large and diverse, and so we always try to provide that choice to customers. Image management for Red Hat OpenShift and Multicast and Nutanix Prism. Also, of course, continuing to work on zero-day support for Mac and iOS, including all of the usability features you would expect, multi-monitor, plug-and-play webcam, and integration even with the Apple Vision Pro. And finally, on Microsoft Teams plugin, that is now fully integrated with the installer. Every customer, every end user gets that automatically in order to make the most of Teams within their VDA remote desktop sessions. And as I say, Zen Server, I just wanted to highlight it. If you haven't considered Zen Server in a long time, if you think that it's by the wayside, you're wrong. It's still here. We're still back. With some unique characteristics that you won't find on other hypervisors, things like a continuous release stream, making use of what we've learned in the cloud and bringing that even to something as low level as a hypervisor. It's fully included in the licenses that you have access to, and it has specific optimizations, particularly for Citrix workloads. So do check that out as well. There is loads more information out there. Go check out, a lot of this content was taken from the What's New and What's Next with Citrix seminar, except that also covered things like NetScaler and Secure Access and our range of other products, so do check out that first one. Every month there is a Tech Wire, which is the real low level. What are those 300 features which are included in the CVAD? If you want to get into that, check that out. And this is me on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect and reach out to me. I'll be here all day. Great to chat and looking forward to hearing everyone else as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathaniel. Next up, we have Matt Evans from Omnissa. If I talk slowly, I'll give him time to arrive.
Morning, everyone. As was mentioned there, Matt Evans from Omnissa. Been with the company now for 9 years, obviously VMware prior to Omnissa. I'm a solutions engineer, and what I plan to do here is we've just had our customer and partner events called Omnissa One, and I plan to go through some of the highlights from there. So I'm going to attempt to do 18 slides in 10 minutes. So it might be a bit rapid, but I'm around afterwards if you want to grab any questions. I have a disclaimer in here purely because there are a couple of items I'm going to talk about which are roadmap. I don't normally go into roadmap, but when we talk about it in this context, it usually means it's sort of coming in the next 6 months, so it's very imminent. So first off, I'll just build this out. The message from the event was very much that, autonomous workspace is very much the direction of travel as it has been, whether that's through sort of auto-config and update of our clients, of our agents, through, onboarding workflows, baselines, kind of self-healing, self-configuring, and tying into our intelligence backend. So that hasn't really changed. And really some of the announcements from there tied into that. So first off is onboarding workflows. So in Workspace ONE, which is our device management platform, we have, for a long period of time had workflows. The problem with those were that they weren't specifically designed for onboarding. So what we've done is these are a one-time workflow. So rather than creating a workflow which installs profiles, applications, security baselines, and those sort of things, this will actually just do that the one time. So as you're enrolling brand new devices using whatever Ubi, Autopilot, whatever your choice is, it can go through in a very specific order, install applications, profiles, and that, as I say, that will be a one-time operation, and then you'd have subsequent workflows to do other tasks. The announcement after that was server management. That's something we've been working on for a little while. There are a few differences to how we manage Windows desktops or laptops. We don't use the OMA DM agent, which is kind of the Microsoft MDM agent. So you don't need to necessarily have internet connectivity from the servers, which is a big sticking point and sort of prevents us doing some of the support. But we can still apply profiles, security baselines, sensors, app updates, those sort of things. So we now have server management. I didn't really know people still printed, but clearly there's a bit of a market out there. So we completely rewrote our printer support. I guess it's more sort of prevalent in maybe sort of retail and warehousing and those sort of, or logistics, that sort of area. So we've completely rewritten our support for printers, which, as I say, there's a number of customers asking for. So that's now just going into release. App volumes, if everyone's familiar with that, this is our app sort of packaging and delivery solution. So essentially, if you don't know what it is, app volumes, we separate the application from the virtual desktop. We package up those applications as VMDKs or VHDs, and then at logon time, we mount them to the image. Very scalable, drives down storage requirements because those packages are shared, and also obviously allows us to go to multiple platforms as we support VMDK and VHD, and also we can then obviously change the methodology around app lifecycle. So what we've announced here is physical support. We did try to do this some years ago, for anyone who may remember it, and we tried to use our sort of traditional model, but the problem was there's if people connected in remotely, they were then trying to attach, say, a VHD file that may be 5 gig to their image, which was slow. So what we've done here is basically allowed you to create an app volumes package as a VHD. We then convert it to an MSI, so it's a compressed VHD file, and then we deliver it to the devices in that way, so that the packaged app is actually local to the device, but fundamentally still falls under the same sort of app lifecycle management. That sort of strengthened our offering in the platforms we deliver to. Obviously, physical, you're aware of Horizon, obviously we support, but we can also sort of package up those applications and deliver them to other VDI platforms as well. So giving you that sort of full flexibility. Next thing we announced around security was Omnissa Pass, so our own 2FA solution or multi-factor solution. More so that you didn't necessarily have to invest in a third party if you didn't have one already, but you wanted to make the environment more secure. So obviously we can use that to prompt, I guess sort of similar to Authenticator for approval. So if you are trying to connect to a virtual desktop, we can have that fire up. If you're trying to connect to maybe a SaaS-based or web-based app, we can challenge for additional credentials. Okay. Vulnerability defense, we announced a partnership with CrowdStrike, so we can take in their CVE feeds, and then we can have Workspace ONE create remediations based on them. So if there's a vulnerability, you can then create, again, these kind of workflows that will go through those remediation processes, whether that's applying a registry fix, whether it's running a script, whether it's applying a profile, whether it's doing a software update. Just so you know, I did keep wondering why the other presenters kept looking at the screen, but what I've got here is a tiny screen that I can't read, so I have to keep glancing to see, because it's really small, so I can't actually see what's on the screen. So that's the reason. But anyway, Horizon Dex, so digital employee experience across the Horizon platform. When we launched that, it was subsequent to what we'd already done with Workspace ONE, so it wasn't as feature-rich, but we've been working on that. We've introduced sort of guided RCA, playbooks, deeper dive into logon processes, as well as expanding our freestyle integration, which really ties into workflows. Previously, if we detected a problem in Horizon, the only capability we had was to email an email address, whether it's a DL or a person, alerting them to it. What we can do now is actually carry out actions in Horizon. So, for example, if we detect poorly behaving virtual machines, we could re-provision the desktop pool, we could change the configuration, we could change what the user's actually connecting to by way of spec a virtual machine. One other thing that we've done there, I mentioned there about diving into logon experience. When we look at logon experience, we see the time it took to log on, but we then break it down even further. and one of those breakdowns is GPO, and then further to that, we break down the individual GPOs so you can see which one may or may not be causing that delay. We added another dashboard that allows us to look at current state of the environment. So, for example, if we are integrating with a third party, like Dell, for example, and we want to look at when devices may need replacing, when their warranty is, and those sort of things, we can start to create dashboards to look at some of those things so that you can actually sort of drive towards when you might need to do a refresh. We also added a number of dashboards around software management, so we can see all the applications that are running in the environment, whether they're managed or unmanaged. You can also run comparisons. So if, for example, somebody within the company says, well, we pay for Teams and Zoom today, which one should we be using? You can run the comparison here. It will show you how many people use the app and how frequently. And we are also looking if the apps are being run in the foreground. So a user can't just launch an app and minimize it and never use it and say, yep, it's being used. We can detect that as well. But it helps you there just understand what's in the environment. Like I say, managed, unmanaged, draw those comparisons out. And that would go across SaaS apps as well, and web apps. We announced support for Nutanix. It's in limited availability at the moment, should go GA by the end of the year. As Omnissa, as we moved away from VMware, and obviously we have a technology alliance with them now, but we're not owned by them or anything like that. That gave us more sort of freedom to do support and development in other areas, obviously Nutanix being a big one. So we obviously went down that route with other hypervisors to follow. But yeah, first off is Nutanix support. And this is kind of the current state of what we are. So those sort of thicker lines depict where we have, I guess, more like true integration, so like an Azure or Nutanix or vSphere. So we're leveraging the APIs, doing the desktop provisioning and those sort of things. The other hypervisors we support, but it's more from a manual pull process. So you could install or create a pool of desktops on those other platforms, and we could register them in Horizon. But for further integration and I guess more functionality, it's those with the thicker line. If you've been familiar with kind of our EUC portfolio, you might have heard of a product called DEM, or Dynamic Environment Manager. There's a number of functions in there. It's a user profile solution, app management, but it can do things like privilege elevation, drive mapping, printer mapping, kind of all those things. So we're actually starting to leverage a lot of that functionality from DEM and port it natively into Workspace ONE UEM, privilege elevation being the first one. So we have a number of customers that want to comply, for example, with Cyber Essentials, but then maybe users need an hour or 15 minutes or something with elevated privileges. So we're building that in, and that'll be the first case. And then there'll be other functionality from DEM coming through eventually. I've talked a lot about sort of intelligence and DEX. That very much is a cloud-based offering. So that is kind of can be a problem for environments that are air-gapped or on-prem and don't have the sort of connectivity. So we're finalising what we're calling Omnissa Monitor. So that will be an on-prem DEX solution, so we won't have a reliance on the cloud. So that should come out sort of early next year. So keep an eye out for that. There will be a beta on that. And as I said, Omnissa ONE is just run in 3 locations. So a couple of sessions have happened already, but we have Encore, which is a rerun and a deeper dive in some of those sessions. So there's a QR code for the events, because you could watch them, the replays, or there's 2 events coming up. So yeah, if you're free and that's of interest, please register. Thanks for your time.
Nearly. I'm just preparing it for you, Nigel. Hold on. Okay, next up we have Nigel, who's going to tell us all of the other news.
Thank you. As I'm official timer today, I have to make sure I have my thing over here, because I'll no doubt be the one who goes too far and too long. So. Here we go. So my job today is to just give you an update of what's happening in the industry as we see it. So this is the EUC Forum Steering Group's thoughts on what's happening. What we want to do with this, of course, is to feed into the roundtable tonight. So if you think some of these are important to continue talking about, please put it into the Canopy app, and that will allow us to have some good discussions tonight. So what's been happening? Everyone's doing enterprise browsers. I don't know if you've seen this. We were in an event in Dublin, which Chris was supposed to be there, but if you know about Chris and the flight curse he has, he didn't make it. So we still listened to him remotely, and nearly every session was about having an enterprise browser. Really interesting. I guess this is because of the threats from cybersecurity team are starting to make this more prevalent. It'd be very interesting to see what people think of that. Of course, we've seen a lot of the cyber attacks, the big ones that have been happening, JLR, M&S and everything. M&S, I think, have said it's 300 million has cost them this year. So the security teams, it's getting harder and harder to allow anything to be done, because the security teams are saying anything that's a risk, let's just keep it out of the way at the moment. Windows 10 end of life, yeah. So it's amazing how many times, the doom mongers come along and everything's going to die and everything, and eventually something happens. So we've sort of got a sort of a pass to allow hotfixes to continue. Show of hands, who's still on Windows 10 or still have got Windows 10 devices? Yeah, that's going to happen for a long while. So other things next think were acquired by VC for about 3 billion. So we can see that the DEX market does have some interesting pieces in there. So we're seeing still acquisitions. There's plenty of acquisitions happening at the moment. Consolidations usual with the sort of state of the industry at the moment. It's tough out there. As an end user, as a vendor, I think everybody is seeing it. There was rumours of 14,000 people being made redundant from Amazon. I don't know if that's true as well. How many of them are in the IT piece, we don't know. But we're seeing a lot of this. So, again, very interesting to get thoughts. If people are going through these rounds of redundancy, notice everything, let us know. We may be able to help you find other opportunities out there. So, but I'm hearing more and more of these. So anything we can do to help, please let us know. So a shift from AI strategy to automation. This is probably the way AI was going to go anyway. I think a lot of people have been talking about how AI is going, and James talking about it again, about their predictions and what's actually reality at the moment. I'm seeing more and more that it's specific things that are happening with AI. So yet again, good discussion point. Interesting. My son's studying to be a vet, and he said, Dad, we've been learning all about AI this week. So, oh, great. ChatGPT. Which one do you use? He says, no, artificial intelligence, artificial insemination. So, and then we get on to a loss of a dear friend. You may have seen Andreas here at previous events. Anyone who has known or worked with Liquidware would have known him. It's an awful loss. I went through it with one of my companies, and suddenly somebody's not there who is always there. And we want to remember these people. They are our friends. I think the biggest thing with EUC is it's all about friendship and everything. So just a message and a thought for Andreas today and his colleagues, his family and everything. Okay, around the grounds. So I'm doing okay. Parallels. So we're now RAS 21. So it's a bit like Windows, isn't it? It's have you actually gone from 1 to 21 though? There you go. See, that's even better than Windows. So more scalability on their secure gateway, and I won't go through each step. You can see them. The important thing here is we want to make sure that we're including all of the EUC presentation layers with management and everything like that, so that you can see people are really thinking about what they want to do. We all grew up as Citrix people, most of us. I think we all created our our lives and around Citrix, but there is a lot of opportunities, a lot of different ones, and we just want to make sure everybody knows about them. So Parallel's there. Parallel's browser isolation, that's very strange, secure browsers. So Chasm, new update from there. Chasm is starting to get more functionality and bringing up the things that you would expect to see: Kubernetes, smart card support, etc. Dizzian, Ruben sent me 5 pages of PowerPoint, so he actually put it on LinkedIn, which was quite a good idea, because I said I wanted four lines, and he sent me 5 pages. So a few things on there. Launch of their Cloud PC core in AWS and also in IBM. I won't go through them all, as I say. We're seeing, yet again, things like the Frame app in the iGel store. We're seeing a lot of those sort of things happening as well. A lot of announcements around there. Ruben's not here today, but he said he'll be here in March for the next one, so that's good. Nerdio, 7.4. The last time I think it was 7.2 when we were here before, so they're moving up a long way. We're seeing the AVD to Windows 365 migration tool. So yet again, another one of these topics: is it AVD? Is it Windows 365? You know, what is the state of these things? I suppose it's good to have Jim here as well. And the Nerdio guys are really adding that support in to allow you to do those migrations. A few other things there: GPU support. Lots of additions to the Windows 365. I think we'll see more and more of this as Microsoft pushing you down that Windows 365 route. Hydra. So this is a new slide because Login VSI acquired Hydra. So Hydra is another one that we've added to the list. If there is other ones that you do use, I know WorkSpot we used to have, but we didn't get any response to add anything to them. Aporto, usually here, they couldn't make it this time, so we don't have any updates for them. But if there's ones you want to see, please let us know. So we've got more support for Azure Local. Start seeing that a little bit more in the industry, really, so going back onto on-premises. Few other things that we'll see in there that I won't go through them all because I want to just maintain the time. So, and we've been doing this around the grounds. We've been trying to work out a way of delivering you updates so that you know of everything that's going around. What we're trying to do, and we'll introduce this next year, is to have a way for the sponsors to give you a 30-second excerpt of what they do. So, please do go and see those sponsors. You wouldn't be here unless it was for them. They pay for all of this and organisation, everything. But we sent this out to the sponsors, and Rory was kind enough to respond almost immediately with an excellent excerpt. And this is the sort of thing that we would like to see. But yet again, feedback, please. Now, hopefully this is going to work.
Hi EUC Forum, Rory Monahan from Numescent here, and here's what's new with us. We launched AI packaging, transforming app packaging into just a few clicks, putting hundreds of apps at your fingertips. Intune storefronts have also arrived, enabling cloud paging containers to be published to Intune, maximizing app compatibility and deployment speeds. We also collaborated with Microsoft on native support for Windows on ARM, and there's also now incremental work pod rollouts to enable a ring-like rollout for your application updates. There's so much more, but I only have 30 seconds, so visit me at the Numescent booth to learn more.
So hopefully that could be useful as well. It's certainly useful for the sponsors to get a little bit more advertising for them as well, but just so that I know it's difficult when you go to see all these booths and you think, what do they do? And you try and read them and it doesn't quite make sense. So hopefully that will be useful in the future.